2010, the year in the golden age of video games, before the price increases and microtransactions. Titles like God of War 3, Mass Effect 2, and Black Ops helped shape an entire generation's love for the medium. Among them was Halo Reach, a game that to this day is talked about as one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time. I decided to see for myself if Reach is as good as people say, if it's all just nostalgia. Let's get into it. Winter Contingency is the first mission of the game and as such needs to grab the player's attention. Getting interested early is a sign of a great story to come, and it makes you want to continue. We start out with Noble Team, a group of Spartans tasked with checking out a downed relay outpost on Reach. You play as Spartan B312, or Noble 6, which is what I'll call it. The team is comprised of Carter, Catherine, Jorge, Emil, June, and Noble 6. If you're not familiar with Halo, Spartans are a group of super soldiers made by the UNSC, a governing body from Earth that has colonized a bunch of planets and is at war with the Covenant, a collective of different alien species who are religious zealots and hate everything the UNSC stands for. Back to the game, you land and find an outpost almost completely empty, except for a group of civilians hiding in a room. We get a call telling us that these are farmers, not rebels, so they weren't the ones who took down the relay. The suspense builds as we search the countryside, just to find out that the worst has happened. The Covenant have found Reach and are launching an attack. After battling them for a bit, we make our way to another outpost, just to find it overrun with even more Covenant forces. For every one we defeat, two more take their place. The message is clear. Reach is unprepared for this type of attack, and it will be overrun if something doesn't change quickly. The storytelling in this level is amazing. From finding the UNSC soldiers scattered throughout the outpost, our interaction with the hiding civilians,
Neighbors were attacked last night. We heard screams, gunfire, stopped around sunrise. Says something in the fields killed his son.
Something.
the young girl who clearly hates Spartans, and Covenant who just keep coming over and over no matter how many you beat. From this, we learn that someone has been taking out our soldiers, we see how deep the distrust between the people and the UNSC goes, and the hordes of Covenant soldiers show just how overwhelmed we already are. These are things that the game lets you pick up on your own without explicitly saying them. A lot of modern media has gone the route of outright telling us these things instead of showing them, which I feel is a mistake. We should be rewarded for paying attention to what's going on in the story, not guided by the hand. After fighting our way through the outpost, Carter makes a call into the UNSC, notifying them of the invasion. Oni Sword Base begins with Noble Team arriving at a base to help defend it. This level is a step up in difficulty from Winter Contingency, which largely feels like a tutorial, which it basically is. This is when the chaos that defines a lot of Halo games begins to ramp up. Despite the differences between them, this level and Winter Contingency have great flow, to the point where I'll sometimes forget that they're actually separate. That's great for pacing and enjoyability, but it means that I don't have a lot to say about it. It does introduce the concept of fire teams, putting a name to all those faces coming with you. The random Marines who join you in Combat Evolved were some of the best parts of the game, and I like when things carry over in this way. The real highlight of the level comes in the ending cutscene, where we meet Dr. Halsey. She comes off as the typical unfeeling suit that opposes the soldiers in any military story, but it's revealed that she's actually George's mother, or at least that's how he views her. As it turns out, she kidnapped him when he was 6 and made him into a Spartan, which puts his earlier scene with that little girl into a whole new light. Maybe he saw the person he used to be in her, and that's what made him look after her. Whatever the case may be, it's time to look at one of my favorite levels. Nightfall is one of the best levels I've ever played in terms of atmosphere. With a beginning that feels like it's paying homage to Modern Warfare 2, and an area towards the end that feels like it was pulled right out of Combat Evolved, this level makes you truly feel like a Spartan, which is when Halo is at its best. It's not that the first two were bad by any measure, but a lot of our time in them is figuring out what the threat is and how to deal with it. In Nightfall, you are sent behind enemy lines to see just how bad things have gotten. Starting off with a sniper rifle, you fight past legions of elites and turrets manned by grunts, all to protect militia members who waste no time telling you how much they dislike the UNSC. The ability to show different perspectives is something that Halo has always been good at, and this game is no different. By the time you get to the end of the level, you might feel like you're starting to make headway against the invasion, only to be greeted by the sight of massive carnage across the planet. Catherine calls in and tells us to head back home, saying we'll regroup and attack in the morning. On the Tip of the Spear has the most upbeat opening of the entire game. First cutscene has the UNSC bringing a massive force to meet the Covenant, and you're dropped right into the action. This is the UNSC's first attempt to swing back, and you can feel the gravity of that as you see the battles going on in the background. I'm not old enough to remember the progression of game design back then, but this had to be one of the first games to be able to show the scale of a war in this way. You may be a super soldier mowing down the Covenant, but you're just a small piece in the puzzle. This level is also the one that got me more comfortable with anti-tank combat, which is instrumental to the rest of the game. Towards the end, we reach a tower that we're told is a teleportation terminal, which possibly explains how the Covenant was able to bring such a large force so fast. We head towards the tower, and with some difficulty along the way, we take down the shield, allowing a ship to come in and bombard the tower. We only get to enjoy the small victory for a moment, because the UNSC ship is immediately destroyed by the Covenant. We take one step forward and get pushed right back. There is a bit of hope when Catherine reveals that we can destroy the Covenant carrier they were teleporting in from, the teleporting parts of the ship itself away, and we head to a launch facility to get a ship. Long Night of Solace begins with us fighting our way into the facility, and once we board the rocket ship, we get a look at Reach from orbit. The planet seems so serene and beautiful from space, and it's a nice break from the doom and gloom of the rest of the game. When telling a depressing story like this one, pacing is extremely important. No one wants to feel sad all the time, and if all you can associate a particular game with is sadness, you won't want to play said game very much. We then get a space combat segment that I really enjoy. The music really adds to the feeling of emptiness in space.
We should head for the savannah.
I appreciate how little time we actually spend flying around. It makes the time that we spend in the cockpit feel more special. A lot of times, a game can add a fun new feature that we spend so much time on, the game feels worse for having added it, like Arkham Knight. Thankfully, in this case, we were still in the age of caring about player enjoyment over maximum profit. In the spirit of being honest, there are some vehicle sections in this game that feel like they were added to pad out the runtime, and while I do enjoy the vehicles in this game, the feeling is still there. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but back to the game. After taking out some Covenant ships, we land on the carrier to complete our mission. After going through the zero gravity chamber, we need to head to the bridge to activate the refueling sequence, which will open a hangar for a UNSC ship to land in with the teleporter. Once the ship arrives and we defend it long enough for things to be ready, George sacrifices himself to ensure the ship's destruction, and as he tosses Noble Six out, he tells us to make it count. Just as the ship is destroyed, the entire Covenant fleet arrives, making Jorge's actions feel even worse. All that work they had done to finally turn the tide was washed away, just like in On the Tip of the Spear and Winter Contingency. I think this is when the dread for what was about to happen kicked in. There would be no miracle turnaround, no crazy plan that somehow saved the planet. It was over. Noble Six falls down from orbit to the surface, then walks for 9 days, making his way to the city to help in the fight. Exodus begins with Noble Six barely having any ammo or health. With you being out of the fight so long, things have only gotten worse and worse. The goal now is to get the civilians out of harm's way. Before we can get to them, we have to deal with grunts who all have grenades and will rush you with them. This segment is a lot like the sniper section in Halo 2. It's not particularly difficult, unless you're playing on Legendary. It's just annoying. Every time you die here, it feels lame, and it shouldn't. At worst, I should feel frustrated at myself for failing, not rolling my eyes. The most standout part of this level comes when we have to clear a helipad to allow a transport to land, and it's the complete opposite of what I was just complaining about. The game gives you multiple ways to enter the room, a variety of enemies that attack you in different ways, which is something that's present for most of the rest of the game, so that earlier section seems even more off. Once we get the helipad clear, we get on the ship and make our way to the beach to allow more civilians to get away. As we fly, the music swells and we can see the fight against the Covenant from the air. We can try to shoot at them. We can even take out all the ground troops that we see, but even as we accomplish that, a civilian transport is shot down. This is the point where you're supposed to feel the most despair, at least before the end, and in most stories, a turning point would be right around the corner. This game, of course, is not one of those stories. Even though we managed to save the civilians at the end of the level, things are only downhill from here. New Alexandria is the most dull level in terms of gameplay. It's not bad by any means. The time you spend in the Falcon seriously drags down the experience. The gameplay in space feels so much more smooth and fun. The Falcon is way slower than the ship for obvious reasons, and it makes you feel like you're flying through mud. I did like the Flood Easter egg we got.
Let me tell you, whatever you do, don't let them bite you. I hear if one of those little ones bites you, you turn into one.
And the nightclub section was really fun. The problem arises when you have to fly from place to place as slow as can be. All it does is remind you of how much fun you were having a minute ago and how that fun is now gone. Package has us returning to Sword Base in order to retrieve sensitive info. This level has a break from regular gameplay that I actually enjoy. In order for Halsey to get the info she needs, Noble Team has to defend her lab from waves of Covenant. In my first playthrough, I didn't really like it due to my general hate for tower defense, but after revisiting it, The variety of ways you can approach this makes it really replayable. The best part by far was finally getting the hang of the Spartan laser, which they should have been using the whole time. Halsey also gives us Cortana, saying that she is the key to survival of the human race. Halsey says that Cortana chose Noble Six specifically, which was interesting, because we never really figure out why that is. To be fair, in this point in the story, we don't really have time to go into that, but it would be nice to find out what makes Noble Six so special, other than him being the player character. I'm sure the answer is in some book or interview, but the game itself just leaves it to the imagination. Pillar of Autumn is the final actual mission of the game, and has us going with Emil to take Cortana to the ship. You'll notice that throughout the game, Reach devolves from a paradise to a wasteland. This level has you facing every enemy you fought so far in the game as a sort of final test for everything you picked up. This level is probably my second favorite after Exodus. It has a perfect blend of visual spectacle and fun, and while it feels a little longer than the other levels, the amount of different scenarios you get put in keeps it from feeling like it's dragging or repetitive. As fun as this level is, it's not what makes this game so special. That honor belongs to Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf, the crown jewel of the entire game. Even if you've never played a second of the game, you've probably seen that current objective survive somewhere. The level itself is pretty simple, survive against the Covenant for as long as you can, but the emotional impact is what has made it stand the test of time. This level elevates the entire story. A lesser game would have shoehorned in some crazy escape for Noble Six, but the writers at Bungie knew better. Noble Six dies and reaches glass. Everyone in Noble Team gave their lives to save the planet, but it just wasn't enough. Back when this game was coming out, people were used to Master Chief saving the day, averting a major crisis. The franchise as a whole has had some dark things happen, but the story would end on a high note a lot of the time. This game changed that completely. For how influential this game is, it's crazy to think that this is the last Halo game that Bungie ever made. After this, Halo was taken in a completely different direction that alienated the fan base and destroyed a franchise that helped shape modern gaming. But for a time in 2010, we got one last glimpse at what made these games great. It has its flaws, but it definitely deserves to be called one of the great games of our time. It has its flaws, but definitely deserves to be called one of the great games of our time. I'm glad this game had so much love behind it because that's what made me want to check this out. I see now what made these people talk about this game so favorably. I see now what made these people talk about this game so favorably, even after 15 years.